The lights dimmed in the boardroom, and all eyes shifted toward the screen as the intern clicked to the first slide. "Good morning," Lily Cartwright began, her voice just confident enough to pass as capable. "Today I'll be presenting a revised market entry strategy for Q4. She stood tall, projecting poise and heels too high, and ideas too borrowed. Each slide flowed with polish, bullet points, graphs, competitive matrices, all stolen. And in the back of the room, seated quietly with a legal pad and a practice poker face, sat Camille Jordan. Camille didn't blink. She'd built that deck, every chart, every word, every scenario tested against 3 years of trend data and 10 years of intuition. And now it was parading across the screen with Lily's name on it. But Camille didn't flinch. Not when the VP nodded. Not when the CFO whispered, "Impressive." Not even when Lily flashed that smug little smile. After nailing a slide transition she didn't understand. It was slide 8 when the CEO leaned forward, squinted, tapped the corner of the screen. "Lily," he said, voice low but sharp enough to cut air. "Who wrote this?" Lily froze mid-sentence, because there it was, in pale gray, bottom right corner, size 8 Calibri. Created by Camille Jordan. And just like that, the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. The meeting was already running 10 minutes behind, but no one dared leave, not when the intern was presenting to the executive board. Camille sat along the back wall, right next to the coffee station, her name not even listed on the official invite. Lily Cartwright stood confidently at the front, heels planted, lips glossed, and a borrowed pitch in hand. Her slide deck flickered onto the screen, looking clean, corporate, and utterly stolen. Camille recognized the file name in the top corner. It hadn't even been changed. She'd spent 4 late nights refining that presentation, correcting industry assumptions, sourcing overlooked data, and adding a competitive breakdown no analyst on Lily's level could have pieced together. Camille hadn't shared it widely, just a version sent for review by Lily 2 days ago. Now here it was, paraded as if Camille had never touched it. Lily launched into her monologue with polished confidence, rattling off statistics she didn't fully grasp, name-dropping frameworks she could barely pronounce. A few executives nodded, impressed by the packaging. One even mouthed, "Wow." When Lily explained a risk mitigation strategy Camille had pulled from a forgotten case study. Camille, meanwhile, sipped her coffee and took notes. Not on the presentation, but on every reaction. She wasn't there to be petty. She was gathering receipts. Her calm demeanor masked the fire building in her chest, fueled not just by the theft, but by the effortless way Lily played the room. The intern had done more than plagiarize. She'd taken Camille's insights, stripped the context, and dressed them in corporate glitter. Camille had warned her once before, subtly, after Lily took credit for a quote in a smaller meeting. But this was different. This was public. This was strategic. Lily clicked to slide 4. Camille's exact forecast model, down to the color palette and side notes. The VP of sales leaned forward, impressed. Camille had spent weeks tailoring that slide for him specifically, anticipating his usual objections and weaving in a subtle counterargument. Now it was being delivered by someone who couldn't explain the x-axis. As Lily talked, Camille scanned the room. Most people weren't watching the screen. They were watching the intern. Young, white, conventionally attractive, saying all the right things in all the right tones. Camille, by contrast, had built her credibility through consistency. She wasn't loud. She wasn't flashy. But she was exact, precise, relentless. And now she was being erased. The CEO hadn't looked up from his notes yet. But when he did, Camille knew the moment would come. Lily breezed through a competitive risk slide, one that contained a crucial typo Camille had deliberately left in the draft. Just one, just enough to prove authorship if questioned. And Lily didn't even catch it. She kept going, proud of the applause from the junior analysts, oblivious to the trap she'd walked into. Camille crossed her legs, leaned back, and waited. It was on slide 7 that the shift happened. Subtle, immediate, and irreversible. Lily clicked forward to the financial impact projection, and the CEO finally looked up. Not just a glance, a still, deliberate raise of the head. Colin Reeves wasn't a man who wasted movement. 42. Calculating. A former McKinsey star turned tactical corporate fixer. His presence alone was enough to quiet most rooms. And as his eyes locked onto the screen, a hush spread like static. The slide had Camille's watermark embedded into the bottom right corner. It was faint, just initials and a date. But Reeves caught it. His brow twitched. Lily, oblivious, kept performing. This next part highlights our liquidity leeway against foreign market volatility, she said, regurgitating a line she barely understood. Reeves shifted in his seat. One hand lifted, palm out, and the room froze. Lily, he said, his tone neutral, almost clinical. She stopped mid-sentence, startled, but trying not to show it. Can you explain the basis of this projection? He asked. Lily blinked. The projection is based on last quarters. Whose model is this? He interrupted. His voice was flat, but there was heat behind it, the kind that melted politeness off the walls. Lily faltered. Well, I created it based on team insights and some references. Team insights, he repeated. He didn't look at her. He was staring at the corner of the screen. Then he slowly turned his head, not toward Lily, but toward the back of the room, toward Camille. She met his eyes without blinking. Reeves nodded slightly, almost imperceptibly. Camille, he said, did you run a liquidity stress test last week for the Eurozone entries? The room tensed. Camille didn't rush. She uncrossed her legs, stood, and walked to the front. Not dramatic, not smug, just quiet control. Yes, she said, eyes fixed on the slide. That's my model. Slide 7 was part of the Q2 Impact series I built for internal validation. Lily turned pale. I was reviewing her notes, and that's not what you said. Reeves cut in sharply. He turned to Camille. Were you aware your work was being presented here today? Not until 10 minutes ago, Camille replied evenly. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The room already knew. This is a closed executive session, Reeves said, now to the board. The presentation should only include vetted, verifiable authorship. Presenting proprietary forecasts without disclosure violates internal code. Lily's eyes darted around the room. No one would meet them. I was just trying to help the team, she stammered. You plagiarized, Reeves said. Live, in front of the board. Camille stepped aside, letting the silence stretch. What would you like me to do, sir? She asked. Reeves didn't hesitate. Finish it, he said. It's your work. You present it. Then, to Lily, take a seat. We'll discuss this afterward. The room pulsed with a quiet tension. Lily stumbled back to a chair in the corner, eyes glassy. Camille turned to the projector. Let's begin again, she said. Camille didn't just resume the slideshow. She restructured the entire room. Her posture, voice, and clarity reset the temperature of the boardroom, like a pressure valve finally clicking into place. Slide 8 projects compounding exposure. If capital inflows remain static for another 2 quarters, she said, laser-focused. These assumptions are not theoretical. They're modeled against 3 years of performance and adjusted for inflation. The air sharpened. Camille's pointer hovered precisely over a data trend line. The same slide Lily had skimmed through earlier now looked like a surgical diagram in Camille's hands. She didn't rush. Every number she cited was crisp. Every insight had teeth. Executives leaned forward. Phones were put down. Camille wasn't performing. She was presenting facts that had consequences. This forecast, she continued, highlights the projected 11.4% drop in buffer liquidity. If the Santorini acquisition goes through undercurrent terms, a CFO squinted. That can't be right. Camille turned. It is, she replied. The offshore liabilities haven't been reconciled in your draft. She clicked again. Slide 9. A table lit up, showing unreported red flag transactions, buried within vendor payments. That's my report, she said. No edits. No filters. It's the version I submitted internally 2 weeks ago. The one that was flagged but never acknowledged. A murmur spread across the boardroom. The CEO leaned forward. Why wasn't this escalated? Camille didn't answer. She didn't need to. Eyes turned toward Lily, who now sat with arms crossed, flushed, trying to disappear into her blazer. Camille's voice remained steady. This isn't just about credit. It's about risk. Ignored risk. She paused on slide 10. A full-page highlight of what she called the Santorini sinkhole. A cash flow void link to off-sheet vendor acceleration. If this deal goes through as is, she said, our liquidity buffer will collapse by February. One of the senior board members, silver hair, steepled fingers, cleared his throat. Are these projections stress-tested? Camille nodded. Against 7 different shock scenarios. I submitted the full model 3 weeks ago. Nobody replied. The CEO looked at his assistant. Pull up her original submission. Within seconds, the assistant was digging through the archive. Found it. Time-stamped. No edits. The CEO turned to Camille. Why wasn't this presented in the last strategy review? Camille hesitated, then answered with calm precision. Because I'm a level 3 analyst, sir. Interns get more airtime. The boardroom froze. That single sentence exposed the rot. More clearly than any spreadsheet. Not bitter, just honest. The CEO said nothing. He just leaned back and stared at the projection. Print me the report, he said. All of it. Camille nodded. Then clicked to the final slide. A clean black screen with white text. Facts don't need permission. It wasn't flair. It was closure. And for the first time in the company's history, silence felt like justice. After the meeting adjourned, no one left the boardroom quickly. The mood wasn't just tense. It was recalibrated. Camille gathered her laptop without fanfare, sliding her flash drive back into her coat pocket, like it was nothing more than a keychain. But Colin Reeves, the CEO, wasn't done. Camille, walk with me, he said. The hallway was sterile. Too quiet. That heavy corporate quiet, where secrets tend to echo. She followed him to the executive suite, past layers of glass offices and frosted doors that usually required a badge clearance she didn't have. Sit, he said, gesturing toward the leather seat across from his desk. No HR, no PR handler, just him. He folded his hands. You knew that report would detonate this room, didn't you? Camille didn't flinch. I knew it would speak for itself. It did, he said, loudly. A beat of silence followed. He tapped his pen twice before leaning forward. Tell me why I've never heard your name before today. She met his gaze. Because I never raised my voice. And then turned, he asked. She accessed the analytics folder I left unlocked. I didn't password it because I assumed integrity. Mistake. No, Camille said. Lesson. Reeves sat back. You ran a full forensic sweep, didn't you? She nodded. Every number I shared today was stress-tested on my own time. I knew someone would try to rush the Santorini deal, so I modeled the risk 6 weeks ago. He blinked. So, while everyone else was chasing optics, you were safeguarding truth. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. You're not just some background analyst, he said. You're a sentry. Camille offered a polite shrug. I'm just good at my job. That, he said, is an understatement. Then came the twist. He turned his monitor toward her. This is the email your intern sent me yesterday. She submitted your report as her own. Camille scanned it quickly. Her sentences, her graphs, her formatting. No edits, she muttered. Reeves continued. She even left the footer with your name on it. That's how I knew. Camille raised an eyebrow. You saw my name? Didn't say anything right away, Reeves said. Wanted to see how you'd handle it. Most people fold under pressure. You broke the ceiling. She took a slow breath. Why are you telling me this? Reeves stood up, walked to a locked cabinet, and pulled out a leather binder. Because I want to offer you something. He slid it across the table. Promotion? She asked, voice neutral. Recalibration, he said. Strategy division. Top floor. You'll report directly to me. Camille didn't smile. She just nodded once. A quiet, calculated acceptance. Reeves extended his hand. And Camille. She met it with her own. Yes. Next time someone steals your work, he said, don't just correct the record. Own the room. Camille stood up. I think I just did. By the time Camille returned to her floor, word had already begun to spread. It wasn't loud. It was the type of whisper that cut deeper than a scream. Some eyes darted away when she passed. Others lingered, just long enough to register guilt. At her cubicle, her desk plant had been mysteriously overwatered, and the intern, Lily, was nowhere to be found. Camille sat down calmly and opened her laptop, as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. But the silence around her was thick with consequence. An email pinged. It was from HR. Your transition package is being prepared. Welcome to strategy. No smiley face. No fluff. Just confirmation. Moments later, another message appeared. This one marked urgent. It was addressed to the entire floor. Effective immediately, Lily Cartwright has been removed from all ongoing projects. All files and tasks have been reassigned. Camille read it twice. Not for clarity, but finality. She didn't gloat. She didn't whisper. She just adjusted her chair and resumed typing. But 2 desks over, her colleague, Jordan, muttered, "Damn." Someone else followed up. "She was gunning for you all month." Camille responded without turning her head. She missed. Upstairs, however, the fallout was messy. Lily had been caught red-handed, not just in theft, but in incompetence. Her attempt to plagiarize Camille's slides had backfired catastrophically when she couldn't explain a single model during the impromptu presentation. And HR wasn't the only department involved now. Legal had been looped in. It turned out Lily had emailed Camille's full report, footer intact, to an external partner in a bid to fast-track her own visibility. The breach triggered a compliance review. The Santorini deal was now frozen. The board demanded answers. Reeves had one. She's gone. Meanwhile, Camille was summoned back upstairs. Not for punishment, but preparation. Reeves introduced her to the core strategy team, a lean, analytical group that spent more time in war rooms than on slides. "This is Camille Sinclair," he said. "You've all been reading her work without knowing it." A few stunned faces nodded. One even whispered, "That's her." Camille didn't wave. She nodded once. Back downstairs, Lily had returned to pack her things. Her eyes were red, her hands shaking. Camille watched from the elevator lobby, but said nothing. No vindictive glare, no smug farewell, just that same calm posture, quiet proof that integrity doesn't need to announce itself. As the elevator doors closed, Camille caught one last glance of the cubicle she'd spent 3 years in, the same one people said she'd never move past. She didn't smile, but her silence was loud. 3 weeks later, Camille's name was on the door. Not a full office yet, not the glass suite by the corner, but a private strategy room, carved out from what used to be storage, repurposed for someone who had proven they could see what others missed. The plaque read, "Camille Sinclair, Strategic Development." And that was more than enough. What mattered wasn't the size of the space, but the size of her silence, the one that had spoken louder than a boardroom full of credentials. Upstairs, Colin Reeves had reshuffled the reporting chain. Strategy no longer flowed through a tangled mess of managers and executive assistants. It flowed through Camille. Every deck, every forecast, every expansion model. She was the new axis, and everyone knew it. Her work no longer got passed off. It got passed up. One afternoon, as she sipped coffee from a ceramic mug, not a disposable cup, not anymore, she caught a glimpse of Lily's replacement, nervously walking into a pitch session with a new intern badge, crooked on her blazer. The girl smiled at Camille. Camille nodded back. That was it. No coldness, no vengeance, just awareness. That same day, a former VP, one of the silent allies, who had laughed along with Lily at the company offsite, sent her a request for input. Camille reviewed the deck, made a single annotation, and sent it back and signed. That was the new hierarchy. No announcement, no press release, just quiet shifts in respect. Colin, now keenly aware of Camille's edge, began involving her in quarterly briefings. She sat at the table now, not behind it, not waiting outside. At one meeting, when a partner asked, "Who ran this model?" Colin gestured across the room. "Ask Camille," and he meant it. Her words shaped projections. Her pauses made people nervous. And her eye for inconsistencies, honed over years of being ignored, became the company's sharpest asset. She had become the kind of presence that didn't need volume, just precision. And outside the walls of meetings and memos, her story began to drift. quietly, through the industry, not as gossip, as respect. Camille Sinclair, the one who didn't argue, the one who didn't crack, the one who let someone else steal her slides, and waited for the moment that would undo them completely, not with a scream, but with a single footer. And when someone new asked, "How did she get here?" the answer wasn't about politics, or timing, or luck. It was about not moving when pushed, not shrinking when ignored, and never, ever raising her voice. When she had the truth on her side, she didn't need revenge. She had something better: recognition.